Hi. Welcome to bullshit that I'm recording at 3 a.m. Uh, this is not going to be edited, but basically, this is a guide for how to use the new chart system for 1.6.2 and various information and shit. So, here's what you need to do. I assume you've already figured out how to get it running, how to get the JSON in, all that shit. If you don't, fucking put a comment and say, I don't know how to fucking do that. Fucking show me how. And then I'll just tell you to go watch the Brightfire tutorial and tell you that, like, ignore when he says you can use spaces. You can't. Otherwise, all that information's still right. But here's the deal with charting in 1.6.2. So, for context, I use Beatbox, right, for my music. I know I'm poor, but basically, as you can see here, it's divided into 8. This is 2 measures worth of song, right? So this is the first 4, this is the next 4. This is how I chart music because it helps me visually. Because let me run through some stuff. One, there's of course the good old snap to whatever the fuck, right? 116 means it snaps to 16th notes, right? So first 16th note is this square, next one's that one. Continue on until you're at the 16th, which is here. Snap to, oop, wrong thing. Snap to 8, does 8th notes, right? And then, you know, uh, just a beat. 4 is just a beat, right? And then that's the biggest you can get. And then you can even get down to 64ths, which is the smallest you can do, because each of the squares is actually subdivided into 4 different squares. Honestly, I just use 116 because I'm not using anything faster than a 16th note, not gonna lie. But anyway, onwards with charting and all that shit. So you already know how to place stuff, right? So say it's like, okay, the camera's facing, in this case, Skid and Pump as a placeholder. You put whatever the fuck arrows you want down over there, right? And that would be Skid and Pumps, and if you put them over here, you know, that's the players. And then, say it's focused on the player. Anything you put here is what they're singing, then anything you put here is what the opponent's singing, right? Basically, whoever the camera's focused on gets the left column and vice versa. Quick fun fact, whatever column this white line is over, if you hit V, it just switches it over, which, wahoo. If you knew that, good for you. But, other things. So we already know how to place notes, right? The main reason you're probably here is because you want to know how to use the fucking copy-paste feature, and shit's stupid. So basically all you have to do is you either select a note normally, like that, it'll be highlighted. You can Control V, and it'll copy-paste, starting with whatever you copied. Like the first note, actually, that shows up. And it'll just put it where the white line is. So for example, say I wanted this little pattern to start at the beginning of this measure, I would select all of these, which how you do that is you hold down Control and then click drag over the notes you want to select, Control C, and say I want to put them at the beginning of this measure, bam, it does that. But say I wanted to put them like, I don't know, 2 beats in, I would go 2 beats in, right? So it starts on beat 3, and then bam, I do that. It starts there. So you need to remember that. So if, say, you go up here to this, right, and you highlight this, it is not going to remember that there's 2 squares before this arrow. It's just going to remember, it's going to spawn it at this arrow. So you need to remember to put it properly. So that's how the Control-C, Control-V works. Also, the Control-Z only works for the most recent copy paste that you have set, or most recent note highlighted. For example, I can control, no, I can't even do that. It's literally just whatever you control seed, it'll undo. Now, okay, so I covered copy paste and I covered that. Oh yeah, the left and right arrows, when you're not holding control, they snap you from section to section. If you didn't know that. If you did, good for you. Other things that are important. Oh yeah. Okay, real quick, run over everything else. This is just sprites. You probably already go watch the Brightfire tutorial. It explains it better. Note data is literally the same as always. You just have whatever note highlighted, right? Like, say it's this one, and then you can just click it to make it longer, or just put it back to 0. Does it work like that? Nope, it doesn't. So you can't highlight multiple and make them all longer, which could suck. I don't know. I have no idea how this works because I haven't done anything with sprites, but I assume this means for this specifically, like this section specifically, it'll toggle an alternate animation. Now this is the button you use to switch the perspective, which is a very important button. Play here, also whatever section you're hovering over, it'll actually start right at the section. So for example, say I have boyfriend here and I want to play here. I'm hovering over this section. It'll start me with that right arrow. Somehow saved my ass. But you get the point, right? It'll start you on this at the beginning of the section. So you can't like go halfway through the measure and start it there, but you can go halfway through the song and start at the beginning of a measure. Now, space is play song, right? Make sure you do it twice, like pause, like whenever you re-enter, make sure you hit pause and then scroll back up a little and then hit pause again so it starts again. It'll line up everything. It's a weird little audio glitch. Also, more alternate animation stuff, I guess. So important things about this. Make sure this is the name. Yeah, again, go watch the Brightfire tutorial. Make sure you never click this, or you might think, oh god, I have lost all the voices. Of course, save at all fucking times. BPM, again, this is all covered in much better tutorials than mine. But 2 tricks for charting, right, especially the new one, is that basically, there's probably the trick everybody figures out, which is if you hit play and you have section data, you can just kind of hover over it and say you need to switch the vocals, right? It's like, oh, this upcoming section, I actually need to be spooky voice. So I click that and it switches it. That's boyfriend now. That's spooky. That's spooky too, right? You can just do that as it plays and it'll just register, which is nice. Of course, don't fuck up like I did. Just do it normally. But another thing that you can do with copy paste is actually, say I have, an entire repeat of a section, right? Like this beginning section. Say I want to put this in the boyfriend part. Instead of, highlighting each of these measures individually, right? And then pasting them, in the appropriate measure, what you can do is if you hit Control and drag over, if you hit space, it'll actually drag the whole box. And then, now I have all my notes. It'll take a half second, but you can Control C that, and just to show you that it does work, I am now going to Control V it here. And it takes a second, but as you can see, all of those notes were selected because we did the nice little trick that we did. And I'm going to Control Z that because I don't actually want that there. So that's actually just a handy little trick for if you want to, if boyfriend's singing the exact same thing, or basically there's just a repeat of stuff, you can just copy paste the entire section, not just measure by measure. It's very helpful, especially if you're like me and you're a dumbass and you just have them repeat parts a couple times. Yeah, that's mainly all that I know. So yeah, to super duper fast recap, it is you can make different snaps. I recommend 1 out of 16 for the 16th notes. Each of these little squares can be split into 4, like all the way down to 1/64. Control C, Control click drag is highlight, and then and that's how you select multiple. You can Control C, Control V patterns, but it starts at the line. Make sure you remember that. That's important. And then you can actually select a bunch of shit by just Control click drag early and hitting space, and then it'll let you basically highlight as much shit as you want. So yeah, thank you for showing up to my shitty Kade Engine 1.16.2 tutorial. Hope it helps. Bye.